Hiya, Sophie here with a Sims 4 PS4 build. Today I'm going to be building a retail centre street of shops kind of place. This is inspired by places that I've been to and seen, like Outs in America, Main Street USA, a shop in Paris, and the Swindon Designer Outlet. It's also a little bit inspired by my Animal Crossing jealousy. So I've seen a lot of people building like cozy shopping nooks in their islands. And so I'm trying to give this place that kind of hub-like feel. So here I'm just laying out the basics and the foundation. So I wanted to definitely have the shops on the second level, with like the first part of my vision was kind of this coffee shop on the top with a balcony that looked down onto a little garden, and so I chose to put a garden centre with the garden, and those were the first two shops that I'd thought of, but there'll be later videos for those too. So here you can see me trying to pick out the staircase that's going to lead from the plant shop's garden to the coffee shop balcony. I guess it's not really typical that you would see something like this, but I kind of like it because it just makes the whole place feel very connected and one. I mean, especially since like each shop is not separated, it's all going to be owned by the same sim just because that's how the gameplay works, but also it's just like a nice kind of feeling that I would want to see in a shopping centre, I guess. So here's where I start to pick out the doors for each of the shops. This was a really long process, and something I think I always struggle with is picking out doors and windows and just the placement of them, really. So I'm glad the new patch had the more movable option for windows and doors to make placement a lot more interesting. The biggest thing I wanted was I really wanted these awnings and the signs for each window, each shop rather, to be very unique and specific to the feeling of the shops. So that is kind of a working process as I went along. So here I start to go into the shops a little bit. I struggled to pick which one to start with first, but I went with the pop kind of young adults clothing shop, which is this one you can see here, which is why I chose like a neon sign for it, and I wanted to incorporate that kind of feeling into the whole shop itself. I really liked these tinted purple windows. I don't know why, they just have a really interesting look to them, so I tried to find other things similar. So here you get a little bit of a peek at the other stores, just because I often jump between things when I'm building because I can't keep my head straight for a second. So yeah, here's me starting on the clothing shop build. This is one of my favorite things about them, is making these little dressing rooms that obviously the Sims don't typically use, but it just makes it feel very real with the curtains drawn and everything. The window display idea was something I was really excited about when coming up with the builds. This one's probably one of the more boring ones, but I like the way you can use cheats and put things where they wouldn't typically be. Like here I delete the wall after I've put these sort of wall decorations up, and then that becomes an interesting background for the mannequins. I originally chose purple just because I liked that it connected the tint on the doorway and the windows, but we'll see in a bit why I changed my mind quite quickly. The brick walls is something I always end up doing just because, I don't know, it feels very like young adulty, kind of modern. I don't know what the word is. I sound like an old woman. um, so then I started to lay out the displays in the shop as well. So what I really wanted to do, which I'm doing here, is to put mannequins on pedestals so that it gave it like a more interesting look along the vertical axis. But in the end, the gameplay didn't let you interact with the mannequins if they were off the floor, which was a little bit annoying, but so I had to delete the pedestals. But you can see here what I was intending to go for originally, which I really liked, but oh well. So as I was building this, I quickly started to realize that it was starting to look a little bit like typical fast fashion kind of clothing stores, and I really didn't want to just replicate those stores because I don't really like fast fashion anymore. And so I was trying to both get the feel but also distinguish it as my own kind of build. So here I start to pick out the rug, which is something that I always love doing in my builds, is choosing rugs. I don't know why, I just think that they tie the whole thing in together. I chose this rug and then I really realised how the purple made it whole look a bit like a Nickelodeon sitcom set, and I just hated it so much. So I started to change the colour to red because I really liked this rug. And then I realised that it looked like other retail stores that exist in reality. So then I wanted to go with something that matched the blue neon sign of the shop outside. So I ended up going for this rug, which also kind of made it feel a little bit more contemporary and just more accessible than the kind of artistic rug that was there before. So here I'm choosing out mannequins. On The Sims you can only have 10 per lot, so I ended up taking these ones out so that I had the possibility to put some next door in the other clothing shop. And I was kind of just picking colours that matched the overall look of the store itself, rather than trying to make them all one colour. And that's just me trying to figure out what to do next, I guess. So here I'm trying to pick out speakers as well. And what I quickly realised was that they all have different colours, but that they all have different music as well. So when I tried to pick out the blue, it didn't have the right kind of music. So I ended up picking a speaker that didn't have like the right colour that I wanted, but it had alternative music which I thought would fit the store itself. For lighting, I first went with the film canister lights there that you see, just because they kind of have that vibe of like hip, cool, industrial store, but they didn't have enough light coming out of them, and I didn't want it to be like a certain clothing store that my mum would never take me to because it was too dark for her. So I put in these strip lights as well, which just brightened up the whole place and also made it look way more interesting visually as well. And then this is me picking out things for the walls. Again, I just picked anything that looked sort of young, I guess, not to sound like grandma again, and just tried to overlay all the posters to make it look like haphazard and kind of like, I guess, a street wall. So then we get on to actually putting the displays out and what to sell in the store. So obviously it's a fashion store for young people, teenagers, that kind of thing. But outside of what you put on the mannequins, there's not really a lot else you can do, and the options of what you can put on display are quite limited. Because obviously you can use cheats and move things around and put things wherever you want them, but for Sims to interact with them and sell them and restock them, it just limits your opportunity and your options for what you can sell, because they have to be able to restock it without putting their arms in the air and crying out to you. So I was trying to find anything that kind of felt relevant to the clothing store, so just shirts and backpacks. I think I put some CDs in there at some point, and a diary, just anything that made sense. I tried to stay away from anything like home based or home decor based, because it didn't really make much sense in a clothing store. So there's like makeup there. I think the photo is just decor for the store. Don't know what is actually on the store. Oh, there's a little child there. Not for sale, but pop culture, I guess. So yeah, I was just really struggling, particularly with this one display, because it's so small that so many items don't fit for some weird reason. So that was like a massive issue I was trying to deal with, so I just put a diary on that one there. So I'm just putting last bits of dressing in here. Let me know if you think I missed anything, or if there's anything that you would have put in. I put some crates in there just because it had that weird industrial feel that young people apparently seem to love. I'm just kidding, I really do. So we're going into the reveal here. I'm just putting in those lights so that when it goes into nighttime, then it looks really lit up like a proper shop. And there it is. So that's the exterior of the shop, which I really, really like the way the window looks and the mannequins in it. I like dressing up the mannequins. I think it's really fun, and one of the other favourite things of playing The Sims for me. I really like the way that I've mixed together techno and kind of hip hop and grime feels in this shop, because it kind of combines together a lot of different aspects and interests of young people into one, so it makes it feel very inclusive and approachable and accessible for many different types of teenagers and young people. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you follow through to part 2 when we start on the next store. Thanks, bye bye.